Alrighty, so I guess we're gonna consider this video series like a beginner's guide to backyard barbecue. And I get like my intention to all of this is to make something that's to make dishes that are accessible, not overly complicated, but also set people up for like a high rate of success. So this week we're gonna be doing a full chicken. I think I'm gonna spatchcock it tomorrow. I debated on whether or not to do that. And in particular, I was very excited about the chicken we got this week because I drove past a farm stand outside of Burlington where they had pasture-raised chickens. And those of you who know me know that for a while I raised my own pasture-raised chickens. And he had the exact same setup in just about every single way that I did. So I was more than happy to buy one. This is from the Wish Family Homestead. They also have a farm stand set up just west of Burlington on 11. I think you're going into Lyons, and that's called the Larryville Gardens farm stand. So hard to miss. I think he said it was on like the south side of 11, just into Lyons. So keep an eye out for it. If you guys like the chicken that I raised, I can tell you and certify for myself that you know, he's doing the same thing there that I was doing. Ethical sourced chicken, healthy birds. They live on fresh grass every day. They're in fresh air every day. It was just really awesome and invigorating to meet Brad and see what he does. So for this recipe, we're going to brine the chicken. So we start the day before. And we went to Ace and picked up a brine solution. So we're just gonna take about a cup of this. We'll mix it in a gallon or so of water. We're gonna warm it up and stir it until everything dissolves into a solution, at which point we will let it cool down and submerge the bird into it. And we'll just add water as we need to make sure that it's 100% submerged at that time. Then we're gonna let it sit overnight. Now, a caveat to that is, if you buy your chicken at a grocery store, it will likely have already been injected with a brine or some kind of like saline solution, very high in salt content. So doing this step would actually be redundant for you and kind of a waste. What I would then recommend is just heavily salting the exterior of the chicken. And that's gonna help really break down like the fat and like the water content on the skin itself, because if there's one thing that people complain the most about when they're smoking a chicken, it's that they get very rubbery texture skin, something very hard to chew through. So we really wanna be diligent about drying the skin out, and that's gonna help us get a more crispy skin. And we're gonna salt it later also before we start up the grill and stuff, but although I don't think that the brine is entirely necessary, as I said before, I just want to make sure that we're setting people up for the highest rate of success possible. And to make that easy on us, rather than making our own brine, which I will do for Thanksgiving when I make a turkey, we can just pick up a brine solution from the grocery store. If you live close to like a barbecue boutique store or something like that, by all means, you know, pick up what you can. This one I picked up at Ace. This is made by Meat Church. He has a very popular YouTube channel. So I've learned a lot from watching his videos and stuff, as well as other, you know, barbecue YouTubers and stuff. But another really awesome resource is Matt Pittman from Meat Church. So we'll probably use some more of his rubs and stuff as we go along here in our beginner series. And yeah, we'll get some B-roll footage here as we heat up the brine solution and get everything going. Okay guys, so I brought the pot up to a boil. I added a cup of our brine into it. I stirred it around for only a couple of minutes until everything kind of dissolves into it. And now that everything's dissolved, I took the heat off, and we're just gonna let this cool until it comes down to room temp. So if you're kind of in a rush or if you're just impatient in general, you could add like ice to it or something. However, I want to use this pot to store the chicken in overnight. So if you add ice, obviously your water level is going to be too high when it melts. So there's that to consider. Also, if you have like a bigger chicken, this one's pretty, like it's petite. So if you have a bigger one, you're gonna need something bigger than a pot like this to keep it in overnight. One thing that I've used a lot for turkeys in particular is the Menards 5-gallon buckets. So those are food safe containers. So I don't recommend using one that you have sitting out in the garage, right? Whenever I'm using one for cooking, I usually use it once and then it becomes a garage bucket after that. So just go buy yourself a new one, wash it out a little bit, and you're gonna be good to go. But the other thing that I wanted to cover is why we are brining and like what a brine is. So technically the ocean is a brine. All a brine is it's it's some water with a salt content that's so high that nothing could spoil in it. When it comes to the way that we cook with brines, we add a lot of like aromatic elements to it, citrus, herbs, spices, things of that nature, a lot of salt obviously, and also a lot of sugar. So if you're cooking low and slow in general, get accustomed to there being lots of sugar involved in your recipes. I hope you don't get into backyard barbecue with the intention of getting skinny, because that's going to be tough to achieve. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to get tough. So the reason why we will brine is because the salt content is really high. Like we were talking about last week with the steaks, as the salt penetrates the meat, it will also help tenderize it. So it's just another layer of assurance that when we're done here, we're gonna have something very tender and enjoyable to share with people. So with that being said, yeah, where we're at now, this is gonna cool here for the next probably hour or two, and whenever it gets down to room temp, I'll submerge this bad boy in it and it will sit in the fridge until we see you guys tomorrow. New angle, but one thing that I forgot to mention, if you want to know how much water to put in the pot, you take your chicken wrapped up in its package still, put it in your pot, and then fill it with water until it's submerged all the way. Pull the chicken out, and then you know you have enough water. So after it boils, you'll lose a little bit of that water level, but you can just add a little bit later, no big deal. All right, guys, so it's the next morning. We got the chicken out of the brine. Bella wants outside. She can wait a minute. So we got the chicken out of the brine. We rinsed it off really thoroughly. It's important to get all the brine off of it, or it'll be like super salty when you serve it. You also want to pat it dry like we were talking about before. You want to make sure that the surface and the skin is in general as dry as can be. So before we touch this any further, I want to shout out Emerson. He is the owner of Dragon Pit Barbecue, and he gave me this seasoning when Scott and I and Matt made a visit there a couple weeks ago, and you guys might have seen it on Scott Dooley's page. If you didn't, go check it out. He's got all kinds of cool food reviews he does locally. So one pro tip is, if you don't want to get your seasonings wrecked with like chicken and stuff, put it in a glove. So that'll keep it clean. Now, the one thing we're gonna do, and I debated a lot on about doing here, is we're gonna spatchcock the chicken. So what that means is we're gonna remove like the spinal column out of the chicken, and we're gonna remove a piece of the breastplate also. I usually do this with a chef's knife, but I actually bought some poultry shears. So we're gonna just see how that goes here. And we're gonna cut right up along the side of the spine. And I will say that that is a lot easier than doing it with a knife. Not that easy, but it is worth doing. The reason that we do this is to ensure that it like cooks really evenly. So by doing this, we can actually pretty much just butterfly the chicken. So in here is a breastplate. You can kind of feel it. So we'll kind of cut down with our fillet knife and see if we can expose it here. Hopefully you guys are getting a good look at it. So we cut through the cartilage, and behind there, I call it a breastplate or breastbone. I really don't know what else it might be referred to. as, there we go. So that little guy, you want to get that out of there. And then as you can see, it'll lay really nice and flat when we're cooking it to make sure that it cooks evenly. So at this point, we'll flip it back over and we're gonna season all the way around with some of Emerson's rub seasoning. And again, we are not shy with this stuff whatsoever. Now, when it comes to seasoning in general, you can salt, pepper, garlic this, absolutely. If you notice a lot of the rubs and stuff that I'll be using, there's a little more in there than salt, pepper, garlic. So although a lot of places say that they do, they usually use like a seasoning salt or season all. Could be Lawry's or REO or something like that. For the purpose of this video series, I really just want to either use stuff that I know you have in the cabinet or that you can go to a store locally and pick up. So this one in general, this is Emerson's, and I thought it would be cool to feature his stuff in there because we had such a good experience there when we went and had his barbecue a couple weeks ago. So now we'll hit this side of the bird. And what we're really counting on here is that salt to sit on this for a while. I mean, it's 9:30 in the morning and we're not starting this chicken anytime soon. So we are going to let this sit in the fridge for the next few hours and kind of dry the skin out a little while. So that is the job of the salt in general. I'm gonna flip it around, get all those little undersides everywhere you can. Sorry if my arm is blocking your view, but I think you kind of get it, what we're doing here. It's not exactly rocket science, but I know for me it was awfully handy watching other people do this for quite a while. So we've got everything pretty well seasoned up. We're going to transfer it to a tray that I have back here. So this tray, I wrap it in tin foil because I'm lazy and I don't like cleaning stuff, but it's also on a wire rack, so that's gonna let air kind of get under it and help dry it out. This is gonna go on the top rack of the fridge, close to the fan, so it gets lots of convective air and encourages it to dry out more, because if you don't get it, the theme of this and getting crispy skin is drying out the skin before you put it on the grill. So at this point, I'll clean up and we'll catch you guys in another few hours. Another quick point while I'm cleaning up. So I did mention the dry brine method if you have a store-bought chicken yesterday. So if you dry brined your chicken last night, you can skip this step right now. You really don't have to season it until you're like firing up the grill and stuff. Your chicken, for the dry brine people, is still gonna be sitting in the fridge until you're about ready to cook. So just want to clear that up for you guys. All right, guys, so we're getting the smoker started for our spatchcock chicken. That starts real easy with lighting the charcoal chimney. I got it loaded up with some briquette charcoal, and I've got my fire starter under there, so we'll come back out in another like 20-25 minutes, and what we expect to see is like flames coming out of the top of the chimney and everything ashed over. So right now you can see it's filled to the brim. By the time it's really like ready to be dumped on, it'll be you know, like a quarter less full than it is right now. And that's something that I want to just express to you guys, like, this is all about being patient, right? So if you don't let all of the charcoal really light, odds are pretty good that when you dump it into the fire basket in the bottom of the smoker, that you're going to smother a lot of it out. You're going to have a lot of really dirty smoke, especially on something like chicken where it's a quick cook anyways. That's all less than ideal, and it's something that's gonna like make itself evident in the flavor profile. So yeah, we're gonna let this thing take off, and I'll come back out in about 20 minutes and we'll take it from there. Briquettes are almost there. One thing I didn't think about was how much charcoal I was going to need for this cook, so it's a lot higher temp than I'm used to doing in this. So we're going to add some more briquettes to the basket. I also have these hickory chunks. I use hickory a lot because it's really versatile. Goes with pretty much anything. So we're going to add some more charcoal to the fire basket first. We're going to add some hickory chunks. We probably don't have to go too crazy. Try to pick a couple smaller ones here. Yeah. So in a moment, when this is ready, they're almost totally ashed over at this point in the charcoal chimney. We'll put this back in, we'll dump the charcoal back in. So everything is ashed over. We're gonna move this out of the way really quick. Hopefully it's okay on that cover. We'll put the basket in the bottom of the smoker. And we will dump our chimney into the basket. Another tip for you guys, if you're doing a lot of grilling and stuff, invest in some welding gloves. Just something cheap from the hardware store. Pretty much everything that I got here today, you can pretty much get from Ace. So even like those wood chunks I got from Ace, chimneys, Weber grills, Traeger grills are sold there. The only thing we really didn't get from Ace today was the charcoal, because we buy it in bulk from Costco. So anyways, so you saw me put the basket in the bottom down here, and on the other side is this fan controller, and it just blows air right into that basket and makes sure it stokes the coals, keeps them nice and hot. Pretty much does all the work for you, so you don't have to adjust any dampers or anything along those lines. So at this point, I'll set the controller up, and we'll come back out in a few minutes after we're up to temp and everything is stable, and we'll put the chicken on. The grill drum smoker is hovering right around 350 degrees. We're ready to put the chicken on. I will show you guys the chicken. It is very dry. You can see in the bottom of the pan where some of the water and moisture had leaked out of it. Also, I just noticed that product placement is fantastic. Kingsford hit me up. I can go for the sponsorship. So let's pull the lid. Put our chicken on. Right there in the middle. And we'll put our temperature probe right in the thickest part of the breast meat. Not that I have a lot of faith in them, but it doesn't hurt to have a rough idea of where the chicken's at. So we're gonna let this go. We'll probably, I have some sauce, again, something that I picked up at Ace. We'll start saucing it when it reaches maybe 145 or so internal. They say chicken's done at about 165, but we're gonna pull it at 155, and it'll carry over close enough to 165. One of the tricks about knowing whether or not chicken is done is if you always take it to 165, the idea, I guess, is that the more exposure that it's had to heat, the lower that temperature actually is for safe doneness. So if you cook something really hot and fast, like poultry, you might have to take it to 165 in order to ensure that it's safe. However, if you went really low and slow, you would actually cook off that bacteria and anything else that might be in the chicken at a much lower temp. So with that being said, we'll catch you guys in a little bit. Okay, so it's been half hour, 40 minutes. According to the controller, the internal temp on the chicken is around 100 degrees. So we're gonna check it really quick. I have my instant read thermometer that I trust a lot more than I do the controller's thermometer. However, another thing occurred to me. A lot of people, when you have consistently rubbery chicken or rubbery skin on your chicken, it's due to cooking too low, right? So if you're gonna cook low, on a pellet smoker, to get any wood flavor at all, you're gonna need to cook it like 225 or maybe even lower than that. And in order to get a crispy skin, you're gonna have to deep fry the chicken. So you're gonna have like a big deep fryer sitting off to the side, and you're gonna have to flash it for probably a minute, maybe 90 seconds. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do that with my chicken wings. However, it's a lot easier to do with chicken wings, obviously, than it is an entire chicken. So if you want crispy skin on your chicken, you're gonna have to cook it higher temps and on a pellet smoker, or a pellet grill, I should say. That means that you're not gonna get a really hearty or any wood flavor on it whatsoever, because the pellets just burn too clean. So let's take the cover off this thing, look at the chicken, see what we think. Yeah, I mean, pretty much what I expected, I guess. It's just a chicken that's sitting in the smoke. I got smoke in my eyes now. So yeah, we're picking up like 103. A little higher on the leg. That's to be expected. Yeah, maybe 110. So I'm actually gonna flip it over because I want to get some of the skin exposed to that direct heat coming off of the firebox. So we're gonna flip it over real quick. And now we'll let it go here for another 20-30 minutes. We got to get our thermometer back in there. And we'll be back somewhere around 140, 145 degrees. Well, it's been a little bit. We're gonna crack this thing open and see where we are. Tell you a little bit about the barbecue sauce that I picked off the shelf. It's called Huff and Huff. Touch of cherry, 9-time barbecue world champion. So it must be pretty good. So we got a little whisker tickler here, and we'll check it out. Yeah, we're like right at 140 internal there. A little higher, 150. So we'll sauce up whatever we can access from this side, let it tack up a little bit, put the cover on, come back in 10 minutes, flip it over, and then saucing up the skin side. Alright, so we are just about there. We're gonna flip this thing over, sauce it up a little bit, let it tack a little bit more, check internal temp. Another tip for you guys is get you some cotton gloves. You can put the vinyl gloves over the top of them, and when you're handling hot food, it's like you're wearing hot mitts. So you have a lot better dexterity, and you don't make a mess out of things and stuff like that. So slip this glove on, take the lid off, and check it out. And that looks pretty yummy to me. Now, flip it over. We'll sauce it up on this side. Well, let's check the internal real quick and see where we're at. So we're at like 148 internal. So we're gonna sauce it up. Spread it around. And then probably let it sit for another 10 minutes or so. We won't pull it until we reach like 155 internal is where I want to be. As I said before, I know chicken, they always teach you, is not done until it reaches 165 internal. However, there are some caveats to that, right? So this cook time was long enough that we can get away with pulling at a slightly lower temp, but also it's going to carry over cook for one when we pull it off, because we want to let it rest for about 5 minutes. So even though we pull it at 155, we know it's going to continue to climb after that. And we don't want it to dry out. So a lot of people will cook something like right up to 165, even if they cooked it nice, low, and slow. It's going to carry over and probably be 175, maybe even 180 by the time they serve it, and they wonder why their chicken's always dry. So to avoid that, we pull it a little early and we allow that carryover effect to finish the bird while it's on the counter resting for us. So. At this point, put the cover back on and come back in 10-15 minutes. All right, so I got a notification on my phone that we have reached our target temperature. So let's put this thing to the test and see how close it really is. I was out here like, I don't know, a few minutes ago and it wasn't there yet. So let's see. Looks awfully good. 153.5, close enough for me. That is the coolest spot, so we'll take it off and we are going to let this rest on the counter. So we'll see you guys inside. Alrighty, so we've been letting it sit for about 5 minutes. We're going to cut into this thing and see how we did. If it's not great, I'm going to blame it on the 9-time world champion barbecue sauce. Cut a wing off here if I can figure it out. It's been a while since I've done this. So let's not do that because I'm going to make a wreck of it. We'll just cut a piece of this breast off. And you can bite through the skin. We did fight the temperature a little bit on the smoker. So it's not quite as crispy as I'd like, but still, I mean, you can bite through it and it's tender and juicy and yummy. So official taste test. Bella. Good girl. Awesome. So all in all, I'd say it's a success. Sauce is good, rub is good. It's good. So see you guys on the next one.